Good morning, everyone. Once again, it is Tuesday. We came back on a Tuesday. It is a true Tuesday, August 22nd. That's two twos for you playing at home. 2023, here we go again. Ah, yes. Thank you, Kathy. Good morning, Miss Kathy. That was the big surprise of the Iowa State Fair. So my daughter tapped me on the shoulder. So I'm getting tapped on the shoulder because I was sitting, just happened to be sitting down at that point, and I received a tap on my shoulder, and I kind of looked behind me, and I was kind of caught by surprise because it was my daughter, and I haven't seen my daughter since my niece got married, which was a few years ago, considering she now has two kids. It just gives you a little perspective. I was still working at the law firm the last time I saw my daughter. And so I got to see my daughter, and not only seen my daughter, but I seen a grandson that's almost 2 years old that I had not met before. And so I got to see him for a first time. I got to see, of course, she's gotten married since I last saw her. She's had a child, and she's got a child on the way. She's got another boy that's going to come due in, I believe it's November. Where it goes from here, I don't know. Only time knows, and of course, God knows as well. Good morning, Tommy. Good morning, Marie. Good morning, Miss Jackie. Good morning, Bible Blues Brother Scott. Good morning, Katie. Good morning, Dave. Everyone is here. And yes, Rusty, there's Rusty. Rusty's here too. Look at Rusty. This is why we have a new location, because why fight it? I try to put the laptop on the table, and Rusty wants to be around me. So we just go ahead and we sit in our chair. And what does Rusty do when I sit in my chair? He gets in my lap. We might as well not fight it anymore. Plus, mommy said, Becky, mommy said that I have to take breaks today. Of course, I worked every hour of the Iowa State Fair, which was 11 long days. The last 2 days were roasting hot. Roasting hot. It was actually hotter underneath the grandstand than it was outside, and it was really hot outside too. So, needless to say, Jolene, what a trooper. Jolene was with me all 11 days. It was, Kathy, you wouldn't believe it, but it was just Jolene and I. And we pulled it off. I had Jolene would come in at about 11 to noon every day, and I would have her stay until about 6. And then I would cover the front end, I would cover the back end, and she would help me in the middle. And we made a really good team, and it went really well. And needless to say, the last day was extremely hot. And I kind of looked over and I could see Jolene was struggling a little. She was a trooper for 11 days, but that last day was brutally hot. And I kind of looked over and it's kind of like, Jolene, it's not very busy. If you want to leave, so I let her know at 5 o'clock on Sunday. I said, if you're still at the fairgrounds, come back and help. If you want to help me pack at 8 when we close up. Otherwise, if you head home, just head home. You've done more than enough. And so she headed home, and I couldn't blame her. So, yeah, she is amazing. I can't believe you did it with just the two of you. We did. We did the complete fair with just Jolene and I, and we pulled it off. I said I could have done it without her, and I couldn't have. And so Iowa State Fair got packed up on Sunday night. We picked it up. I had Scotty's help yesterday to grab it, got it in 2 loads, got back home, and ran some other errands today with the hopes I don't have to leave the house today. That's the hopes. Now, does it mean I get to take a rest day? No. What it means is I'll have to sit in my chair a lot and try to do work while Rusty sits on my lap because she says I have to give him attention because we leave tomorrow. Yes, we both take off tomorrow towards Nebraska, where we will do another 11 days out there at the Nebraska State Fair starting on Friday. The Friday the fair starts, but we leave tomorrow, set up Thursday, start Friday, because we'll do the track out to Nebraska tomorrow. After we get our slime delivery. So we're going to leave Rusty at home. Becky really wanted to take Rusty with, but the temperatures are going to be really hot. We're talking like 100, over 100. And out in Nebraska, it's supposed to be like up to 105. What that means is setup day is going to be very hot. I'll be looking to get that car on cars. I gotta say cars, get those 2 vehicles unloaded ASAP and get the stuff inside because we have air conditioning inside. That's the plus. But we have to unload in the heat and it is going to be very hot. And she doesn't want to risk the possibility that we'd have a car breakdown and poor Rusty, it would be tough on him. I think he's better off staying here with Scotty. And I talked to Scotty. I had a talk with him yesterday. Scotty's going to spend time with Rusty. Rusty likes Scotty the most anyway. On the hierarchy of things, Scotty is number one. And so Rusty and Scotty will spend some time together while Becky and I head out to Nebraska starting tomorrow. Is this where you met messaging Bill? Yes. He will be out there. He is like, I don't know what you call him. He's like the coordinator of our building where we're at. And he does the message that I read to you in the morning. He reads on the intercom, the speaker, before we start each morning at the Nebraska State, I was going to say Iowa State Fair, Nebraska State Fair. So he'll actually snap a pic of him. Okay, I'll try to remember. I'll say, hey, Bill, I got to send a pic to my peeps. Is that the cool way of saying it? So I'll try to remember that. I'll have to get a picture of me and Nebraska Bill and post that on our page. I'll say, you've got a following. I need to get a picture of you for the peeps. Cold in Iowa? Yeah, right. So I've already got one car loaded. I've got my car loaded to go to Nebraska. Just have to get Becky's car loaded because, of course, Scotty and I had to do 2 loads with my car. So I was very strategic in packing my car so that I brought the stuff that's going into Becky's car in the first load back to the house. So it's sitting in the garage. And then I took the second load, the load that had to either go to Katie at Altoona or in my car to pack to Nebraska. I brought that in the second load. So that then when I came to Altoona, I had to give Katie the stuff she didn't want. And then we packed some more stuff in, and my car's packed. Are you going to be on while in Nebraska? Of course I will be. Because the Nebraska State Fair doesn't start, the mornings don't start until 10 a.m. So I will be able to do the message in the morning, eat some breakfast, and go to the fair. Because like last year, we'll probably do is we'll run shifts. And you know me, I'm the morning person. Becky is not the morning person. So I will do the morning shift. Becky will do the afternoon shift. So I'll be on in the mornings. You won't miss me. Can you believe it was August 9th when we did our last broadcast? I knew that because I still had the screen up. We haven't been on since August 9th. It's been almost, what, 2 weeks? And yet, it feels like I haven't been gone, at least for me. All right, Rusty did win. Rusty is, let's do a, there's Rusty. He's working hard. Rusty's the winner. Dave is still on baby watch. He's waiting for grandchild. He didn't come out to the Iowa State Fair because running the risk of having a grandchild. Iowa State Fair is over. Dave's still waiting. Hopefully, Dave won't have to leave the house. Watch, she'll have the baby on the day that it's like 104 degrees out. And Dave will be like, wait, do I want to go out there? Of course he wants to go out there. He wants to meet his grandchild. So let's see here. What else do we got? We better at home, a new place, and the drive will stress him out. He actually rides a lot better than Emma Kitty did. But yeah, she could tell the last time she went to get his nails trimmed, he was doing a little bit of panting. So, and it wasn't near the heat it's going to be today, tomorrow, and Thursday. May as well wait until September 1st. Start a year later in school. Wait, what now? What are we doing? Oh yeah, Emma. Scott. Emma the LBGT. Because Emma was a boy. They didn't do a very good job of naming cats. So they had one cat they named Oliver, not Becky, but Kimmy and her family had a cat at one point. They named it Oliver, and it ended up being a girl. Emma, they named Emma, and he ended up being a boy. They weren't very good at naming their cats. But this cat, he's a boy, and his name is Rusty. There's Rusty. All right. Let's see. Dave's grandbaby. Oh, gotcha. So you're telling Dave that the grandbaby might as well wait until September 1st. But is September the 1st cutoff date? Because back when we were kids, see, I was born, of course. Now, Katie would say I was born on the wrong day because we're coming up on that time again, in which, of course, Katie was born on September 3rd, and I was born on September 4th. I have an aunt that passed that was born on September 3rd. One of her daughters was born September 3rd. There's a lot of people that were born September 3rd, but I was born September 4th. I was told I was born on the wrong day. Yeah, so September 15th. I thought that's what it was. Um, yeah, because Kathy's 9'10". And so I was 9'4", and my sister was the previous year. Her birthday's on September 24th. So technically, the two of us could have been in the same grade, but my mom held me back. And so what was really funny about that is I got held back. So my sister and I went to preschool together, and then she went on to kindergarten, and I was held back a year. And in the end, she spent 5 years in college. I graduated in 4. So you know what that means? We ended up graduating from college the same year. Oh boy. Anyway, so you can try to hold me back, but I'll keep pressing forward. Oh, I was going to read this story. I haven't been on. I don't know if you guys have seen this story, but I thought I'd read this story. We got a lot of things to cover. Okay, here we go. I got to try to hold my phone. Connor Halsa is just days away from his freshman year at Moorhead High School and more hockey. And he has a summer vacation story that will be hard to top. We were doing a walleye drift, so we stopped the boat, put some spinners on, and let the waves take us, Connor said. He was fishing with his family on the lake of the woods when he thought a fish had struck his line. I thought I had a huge fish, so I set hook really hard, Connor said. My cousin netted it, he said. It was a billfold full of money. My cousin opened it up and he said some words you probably shouldn't say. And he showed everyone, and we took the money out and let it dry out, Connor said. Inside the billfold was $2,000 in cash. My dad said we should give it to the person, and I said we should too, he said. The family found a business card inside, called the number, and tracked down the owner of the billfold. I tell you what, I have a billfold in my hands, and it is still hard to believe, said Iowa farmer Jim Denny. Denny was at the Lake of the Woods fishing 1 year ago when he lost his wallet. So he was fishing in the same lake a year ago, and the wallet fell out, and it was in those waters for a year. 1 year later, this family with this young kid are out fishing, and instead of catching a fish, he catches this guy's wallet. The water was really rough, and I was sitting on the back of the boat, and it was rocking back and forth, and it worked itself out and slipped off into the water, Denny said. So this is the old guy. He was fishing. His boat is rough. The wallet worked its way out of his overalls and went into the water. He didn't realize he had lost the wallet until he reached into his bib overalls to pay the final bill at the resort. They had to float me the money for the whole deal. That's the worst feeling I ever had. Didn't have a penny on me, Denny said. It is hard to calculate, but the odds are out of this world. 1 million acres of lake, 70 miles long, 70 miles wide. And Connor hooked a billfold the size of a deck of cards. The odds of ever finding or hooking a billfold in 20 feet of water, I don't think there is a number, Denny said. So Denny made the trip from Iowa to Moorhead, where he met the Halsa family and even offered to give Connor money, but the teen turned him down. To meet people like that who are honest, I tried to get them to take the money and they wouldn't do it, Denny said. Denny gave Connor a fancy cooler, but more than that, he gave the teen a compliment worth much more than the cash found at the bottom of Lake of the Woods. I would take Connor as a grandson any day, and I would fight for him any day, Denny said. Connor learned some great lessons about himself and doing what's right. Be nice to everyone and give back. We didn't work hard for the money. He did. It was his money, he said. And that is the end of the story. So I'm guessing this was in Minnesota. So this lake must have been in Minnesota. And so the farmer, I'm going to guess, was probably up in Minnesota and came down to Iowa to meet up with this young lad and get his money back. And he got a really cool cooler, the young man, because he wouldn't take any sort of reward for finding this guy's wallet. Is that kind of crazy? What are the odds? I read that story this morning. I thought I'd share it with you as well. Okay, let's see. Here is your message from Nebraska Bill. Let the brilliant light of God's love awaken us to this new day. Love like you've never loved before, experiencing the wonderfulness of God's love and the love of others. Take time each day to study God's scripture and begin to understand his plan and will for our daily lives. From our hearts, let us reflect love to everyone we come in contact with. Let us offer a helping hand to all who need God's divine assistance that helps their hearts with faith open our hearts. To God's love and forgiveness, experience his peace and joy. Take the quiet time with God discussing our lives and surrendering our lives to the will of God. We each get the opportunity to learn from our previous experiences. Let these learning opportunities teach us what God's will is and help us to accomplish his will. Open our eyes and see the things from God's perspective, trusting in him and participating his plans for us. Our options for how we respond to men and women in our lives are vast. Being critical is one option open to us. Indifference and gentleness are others. The way we treat others reveals our own state of being. When will you feel like peace? We generally respond peacefully to others. Conversely, when we feel worthless and pull ourselves down, we're likely to be sarcastic toward others. We can pull ourselves out of self imposed despair there. The method is this: in spite of personal feelings, be warm, kind, and gentle. And every person will exchange with another. And our own dark mood are sure to be lifted. We can make the decision to be gentle. God's blessings on your day. Much love to each of you. Let's see if we can find a quick memory. We've got a lot of stuff to cover here. Um, Gotta keep moving along. We'll just read one memory today. Well, actually, I'll read two because one's really short. Here is one from back on the 22nd of August, 2016. When we choose to demean others in the process of making our point, do we truly understand the biggest point we are making? That that's a very big one. I'm going to read that one again. When we choose to demean others in the process of making our point, do we truly understand the biggest point we are making? Think about that one today. Here's one from 2015. While today may not be your day, we must celebrate with the person whose day it is. For they have battled hard to reach this point, and by celebrating with them, you will have amassed an even greater amount of support to send congratulations your way on the day which is proclaimed as being your day in the sun. All right. Marie says her tea has gotten cold, and we haven't read I got a bookmark back on August 5th. We have so many stories we haven't read. Here we go. Book of Amazing Stories. Today's story is The Kingdom Built on Failure. He was a dreamer in a world of broken dreams. When his daddy's farm went belly up, he and his brothers delivered newspapers to keep the family afloat. In high school, he was an incorrigible daydreamer. While other kids took notes, he doodled. At age 16, he dreamed about going off to fight with the doughboys in World War I. So he quit school, but Army recruiters told him he was too young. He went off to Europe anyway, dreaming about big adventure. He ended up as a Red Cross driver, chauffeuring bigwigs to meetings far from the battlefield. He returned home to a job at a Kansas City company making commercials. He drew cartoons he had created when he was doodling away his school years. But the editor claimed he lacked imagination and good ideas. It was another failure. So the dreamer headed out to Hollywood. He tried acting, but he got nowhere. He took a job at a bank, but he hated that. In 1921, he launched Laughograms. It flopped. When he couldn't pay the rent, he ate dog food. He created Oswald and the Lucky Rabbit, but Universal Studios stole his idea. He tried to sell a cartoon about talking mouse, but MGM rejected it. They said that the giant mouse on a big screen would terrify women. They advised the dreamer that no one would buy the idea of talking animals. Maybe that's why he couldn't get his Three Little Pigs distributed. When he gave a sneak peek preview of the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, college students walked out halfway through the film. Pinocchio was a box office flop, as were many of the films that would later go on to be childhood classics. Those of us who grew up on his magic would be shocked to know that more of this dreamer's ideas failed than succeeded. Yet we are eternally grateful that Walt Disney. So this story is about Walt Disney. What are your thoughts about Walt Disney? Uh, Walt Disney was one of those rare dreamers who didn't let broken dreams stop the dreaming. His unending parade of memorable characters, classic films that set the records for Oscars, unforgettable songs, and magic kingdoms have brought joy to billions of people. His indomitable optimism might be best captured in the words of one of his classic Disney songs, When You Wish Upon a Star. Close your eyes and you can almost hear Jiminy Cricket singing those magical lyrics. It truly doesn't make a difference who you are. This amazing story of the dreamer who overcame his broken dreams reminds us that dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. As the fairy godmother said in Disney's Cinderella, even miracles take a little time. So don't allow delays or disappointment to kill your dreams. If you still have a heartbeat, there's still time for your dreams. In the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit upon all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions, and your old men will dream dreams. Acts 2, verse 17. So, very interesting story about a very interesting man. And the truth is, we don't really know the full story because the thing is that for so he's looked upon by this world in such a beautiful light, but then there's always that dark chapter. and eventually the dark chapter will come to light. And we don't really know where the relationship was between a guy like Walt Disney and God. The only one that truly knows that is Walt Disney and God. And all we can hope for is that they had a relationship and that he found the error of his ways. We don't know. Someday we will know. If we are in paradise one day, is Walt Disney going to be one of the people that you're looking for? I can think of a lot of other people I'll be looking for, but maybe since it'll be all eternity, maybe at some point we can look for see if Walt Disney's there or not. We don't know. God is the ultimate judge, and God will make the correct judgment in the end. Back then, amazing. Not so much now. Just like Walmart. Walmart's another one. Sam Walton. We don't know. We just truly don't know. We think we have it figured out, but the truth is we really don't. What we need to focus on is we need to focus on our own walk, our own relationship with God. Sometimes we get so caught up, oh, that person definitely, they're totally living for the world. They're definitely not going to be in paradise one day. How do we know? We don't truly know. What we need to do is we need to focus on our own walk. Are we right with God? And sometimes we want to be judged. We want to judge everybody else. We want to speculate as to who's there and who's not there. But that's time that's taken away from what we should be focusing on, and that is focusing on our walk with God, our relationship with God. We should be encouraging. We should be directing others to Him and let Him do the hard work and trust that He will ultimately make the right decision. That's what we must do. And so it's kind of takes me back to what I was talking about before. Sometimes in we feel we are right, but sometimes we can say it in a wrong way that our message gets lost, if you get what I mean. It goes back to that question I read earlier. But anyway, we are running. We haven't been on for so long. We've got to get to our word for today. Rusty's still doing good. We're going to pick up. We are in the book of Job in Old Testament reading. Job chapter 4, verse 1. Then Eliphaz the Temanite replied to Job, will you be patient and let me say a word? For who could keep from speaking out? In the past, you have encouraged many people. You have strengthened those who were weak. Your words have supported those who were failing. You encouraged those with shaky knees. But now, when trouble strikes, you lose heart. You are terrified when it touches you. Doesn't your reverence for God give you confidence? Doesn't your life of integrity give you hope? Stop and think. Do the innocent die? So, as I'm reading this, what are you thinking? So, basically, what we're getting is the idea that Job was so encouraging to everyone when they were going through trials and tribulations. But now, as we know, Job is going through a tribulation of his own, a very huge tribulation. And what do you think about this, Eliphaz? Is he being encouraging or not? Think about that as we're reading this, and to apply it to our daily life. When someone is going through some troubling times, how are you in their life? Are you being encouraging to them? Just think about that as we read this. Doesn't your reverence for God give you confidence? Doesn't your life of integrity give you hope? Stop and think. Do the innocent die? When have the upright been destroyed? My experience shows that those who plant trouble will and cultivate evil will harvest the same. A breath from God destroys them. They vanish in a blast of his anger. The lion roars and the wildcat snarls, but the teeth of strong lions will be broken. The fierce lion will starve for lack of prey, and the cubs of lioness will be scattered. This truth was given to me in secret, as though whispered in my ear. It came to me in a disturbing vision at night, when people are in a deep sleep. Fear gripped me, and my bones trembled. A spirit swept past my face, and my hair stood on end. The spirit stopped, but I couldn't see its shape. There was a form before my eyes. In the silence, I heard a voice say, "Can a mortal be innocent before God? Can anyone be pure before the Creator? If God doesn't trust his own angels and has charged his messengers with foolishness, how much less will he trust people made of clay? They are made of dust, crushed as easily as a moth. They are alive in the morning, but dead by evening, gone forever without a trace. Their tent cords are pulled, and the tent collapses, and they die in ignorance. Cry for help, but will anyone answer you? Which of the angels will help you? Surely resentment destroys the fool, and jealousy kills the simple. I have seen that fools may be successful for the moment, but then comes sudden disaster. So, as I'm reading this, so let's just say that you are the one going through a trial or tribulation, and Eliphaz is your friend, and he's going off on this tirade. I shouldn't say that. He is going off on this eloquent. What are you thinking about as you are going through your trial and tribulation? Is this man speaking truth? Most likely, yes. But is this the words you need to hear when you're the one that's going through the trial and tribulation? Share your comments in the thoughts below, or share your thoughts in the comments below. Their children are abandoned far from help. They are crushed in court with no one to defend them. The hungry devour their harvests, even when it is guarded by brambles. The thirsty pant after their wealth. But evil does not spring from the soil, and trouble does not sprout from the earth. People are born for trouble, as readily as sparks fly up from a fire. If I were you, we're finally getting back to okay. So if I were you, so this guy goes off on this long, and you got to think if you're the person going through the trial and tribulation, how much of this that have you even really listened to? This guy is just like talking, and you're not feeling very well. You're down. Your life is just falling apart, and this guy is just going. "Bah, bah, 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 bah." And now I'll tell you, if I were you, if I were you, I would go to God and present my case to him. He does great things too marvelous to understand. He performs countless miracles. He gives rain for the earth and water for the fields. He gives prosperity to the poor and protects those who suffer. He frustrates the plans of the schemers so the work of their hands will not succeed. He traps the wise in their own cleverness so their cunning schemes are thwarted. They find it is dark in the daytime and they grope at noon as if it were night. He rescues the poor from the cutting words of the strong and rescues them from the clutches of the powerful. And so at last the poor have hope, and the snapping jaws of the wicked are shut. But consider the joy of those corrected by God. Do not despise the discipline of the Almighty when you sin. So, here at this point, he's going off the assumption that you brought this on yourself, Job. And so, all you got to do is go to God, plead your case. And so, the thing is that this guy has it all wrong. It's not that Job has sinned, but this is all again we this was all happened before while we were on vacation here from our morning chat. But basically we know, because we've covered this in other years, because we've been this is our third trip around this sun, that it all started off with the enemy saying to God, if there's enough calamity brought into this man's life, he's going to turn from you, he's going to curse you. So God allows the enemy to inflict all sorts of trials and tribulations onto Job. And this is all serving as a test. And so it's not a matter of Job's created all this great sin, but rather it's being served up as a test to see. And so sometimes bad things come into our lives. Think about it. It's true for our own lives as well. Yes, sometimes trials and tribulations come into our lives by our own hands. It's by things that we have done wrong. Maybe it does involve sins that we've committed, and we're paying the price for the sins we've committed. But in this world, in this fallen world, sometimes bad things come upon us because of the actions of others. So right away, Eliphaz is just assuming that, well, you've committed a sin. You know, what's the sin you've committed that's brought this great trial and tribulation upon you? But sometimes we go through these things not because of something we've done, but that we are just sometimes the innocent victims of what someone else has done. But if we realize that God is with us and we are in this relationship with Him, He will not depart from us. He will be with us through that trial and tribulation. If it is a situation in which we feel as though we have brought it upon ourselves, we have because of one of our shortcomings, a sin we have committed, we know what we need to do. And sometimes, like I said, we haven't brought it upon ourselves. We're just the innocent victim of maybe someone else's sin. In either case, we realize that God is with us. We're in a relationship with Him, and sometimes we are being tested to see where we are at. Will we remain trusting and faithful with God when things aren't so good? It's easy to follow God and be skippity doodah when things are going wonderful in our lives. But what we realize too is that through trials and tribulations, it makes us stronger and it grows our relationship with God as well. But consider the joy of those corrected by God. Do not despise the discipline of the Almighty when you sin. For though He wounds, He also bandages. He strikes, but His hands also heal. From 6 disasters, He will rescue you. Even in the seventh, He will keep you from evil. He will save you from death in time of famine. From the power of the sword in time of war, you will be safer from slander, and have no fear when destruction comes. You will laugh at destruction and famine, Wild animals will not terrify you. You will be at peace with the stones of the field, and its wild animals will be at peace with you. You will know that your home is safe when you survey your possessions. Nothing will be missing. You will have many children. Your descendants will be as plentiful as grass. You will go to the grave at a ripe old age, like a sheaf of grain harvested at the proper time. We have studied life and found all this to be true. Listen to my counsel and apply it to yourself. Then Job spoke again. If my misery could be weighed and my troubles be put on the scales, they would outweigh all the sands of the sea. That is why I spoke impulsively, for the Almighty has struck me down with his arrows. Their poison infects my spirit. God's terrors are lined up against me. Don't I have a right to complain? Don't wild donkeys bray when they find no grass, and oxen bellow when they have no food? Don't people complain about unsalted food? Does anyone want the tasteless white of an egg? My appetite disappears when I look at it. I gag at the thought of eating it. Oh, that I might have my request, that God would grant my desire. I wish he would crush me. I wish he would reach out his hand and kill me. At least I can take comfort in this. Despite the pain, I have not denied the words of the Holy One, but I don't have the strength to endure. I have nothing to live for. Can you hear the desperation? Have we at times in the past felt this way? When we're going through a great trial and tribulation, it's kind of like, just let's get this over with. Sometimes God wants to teach us. He wants to test us. He wants to teach us. And sometimes what we must do is ask God, what is the lesson that you want to teach me by going through this? And another thing you got to look at is that it happens so often. We go through trial and tribulation only to had something blow a hair blow in front of me. When you wish upon a star. Anyway, so sometimes is it so amazing that you go through trial and tribulation only to find yourself down the road, maybe days, weeks, months, or even years later? And God will bring someone into your life that is going through a very similar trial or tribulation. Isn't that you've probably experienced that in your life? How you'll go through something only to find someone else will be brought into your life at a later time going through something very similar to you. It will give you the knowledge, it'll give you the wisdom to be able to help them and encourage them. It'll also give you an understanding so that because you'll have a knowledge, you'll have an experience of feeling what they felt. And that's part of it because for this Eliphaz, all I got to say is he may be speaking a lot of truth, but he's not really being encouraging. He's not really being empathetic. He's kind of like just being very factual. And sometimes when someone's going through a trial or tribulation, are they looking for someone to be very factual? Or are they just looking for someone to console with? It's sometimes the people that really don't have much to say, but rather are just lending that, shoulder to cry on, essentially. They say few words, but yet through their presence are so encouraging. Don't I have a right to complain? Don't wild donkeys bray when they find no grass, and oxen bellow when they have no food? Don't people complain about unsalted food? Does anyone want to taste want the tasteless white of an egg? My appetite disappears when I look at it. I gag at the thought of eating it. Oh, that I might have my request, that God would grant my desire. I wish he would crush me. I wish he would reach out his hand and kill me. At least I can take comfort in this. Despite the pain, I have not denied the words of the Holy One. But I don't have the strength to endure. I have nothing to live for. Do I have the strength of a stone? Is my body made of bronze? No, I am utterly helpless, without any chance of success. One should be kind to a fainting friend, but you accuse me without any fear of the Almighty. My brothers, you have proved as unreliable as a seasonal brook that overflows its banks in the spring when it is swollen with ice and melting snow. But when the hot weather arrives, the water disappears. The brook vanishes in the heat. The caravans turn aside to be refreshed, but there is nothing to drink, so they die. The caravans from Tema search for this water. The travelers from Sheba hope to find it. They count on it, but are disappointed. When they arrive, their hopes are dashed. You too have given no hope or no help. You have seen my calamity, and you are afraid. But why? Have I ever asked you for a gift? Have I begged for anything of yours for myself? Have I ever asked you to rescue me from my enemies or save me from ruthless people? Teach me, and I will keep quiet. So I guess in a way, I'm kind of feeling like Job is like, when you were going through troubles, I was just being encouraging to you. I was that shoulder that you could cry on. But now it is me that is going through this. Why aren't you being for me like I was for you? It's not saying that in this word, but you kind of can gather that. Why now, since it is me that is going through this, why aren't you for me like I was for you? Teach me, and I will keep quiet. Show me what I have done wrong. Honest words can be painful, but what do your criticisms amount to? Do you think your words are convincing when you disregard my cry of desperation? You would even send an orphan into slavery or sell a friend. Look at me. Would I lie to your face? Stop assuming my guilt, for I have done no wrong. Do you think I am lying? Don't I know the difference between right and wrong? So this is where Job kind of has it half right and half wrong, because he says, stop assuming my guilt, for I have done no wrong. The truth is that we all do wrong. But in this particular, the reason why he's going through this isn't due to something he may have done wrong in his life. But again, goes back to, essentially the enemy and God having this kind of like this gentleman's wager almost. The enemy saying, well, geez, if you make if his life was bad enough, he would turn and curse you. And God's like, well, Job is a great man. I trust that he will do the right thing, even despite everything going wrong in his life. So the thing is that why he's going through this is So he has that part right. But the truth is, I have done no wrong would not be truthful because we have done wrong. And unfortunately, we continue to do wrong. Do you think I am lying? Don't I know the difference between right and wrong? Is not all human life a struggle? Our lives are like that of a hired hand, like a worker who longs for the shade, like a servant waiting to be paid. I too have been assigned months of futility, long and weary nights of misery. Lying in bed, I think, when will it be morning? But the night drags on, and I toss till dawn. My body is covered with maggots and scabs. My skin breaks open, oozing with pus. My days fly faster than a weaver's shuttle. They end without hope. O God, remember that my life is but a breath, and I will never again feel happiness. So he's in desperate times because he's like, I will never again feel happiness. You see me now, but not for long. You look for me, you will look for me, but I will be gone. Just as a cloud dissipates and vanishes, those who die will not come back. They are gone forever from their home, never to be seen again. I cannot keep from speaking. I must express my anguish. My bitter soul must complain. Am I a sea monster or a dragon that you must place me under guard? I think my bed will comfort me and my sleep will ease my misery. But then you shatter me with dreams and terrify me with visions. I would rather be strangled, rather die than suffer like this. I hate my life. Do you know people that say that? Have you said that on occasion? I hate my life and I don't want to go on living. Oh, leave me alone for my few remaining days. What are people that you should make so much of us, that you should think of us so often? For you examine us every morning and test us every moment. Why won't you leave me alone, at least long enough for me to swallow? If I have sinned, what have I done to you, O watcher of all humanity? Why make me your target? Am I a burden to you? Why not just forgive my sin and take away my guilt? For soon I will lie down in the dust and die. When you look for me, I will be gone. A lot said right there. Let's move on to 1 Corinthians 14, verse 18. I thank God that I speak in tongues more than any of you. But in a church meeting, I would rather speak 5 understandable words to help others than 10,000 words in an unknown language. Dear brothers and sisters, don't be childish in your understanding of these things. Be innocent as babies when it comes to evil, but may be mature in understanding matters of this kind. It is written in the scriptures, I will speak to my own people through strange languages and through the lips of foreigners. But even then, they will not listen to me, says the Lord. So you see that speaking in tongues is a sign not for believers, but for unbelievers. Prophecy, however, is for the benefit of believers, not unbelievers. Even so, if unbelievers or people who don't understand these things come into your church meeting and hear everyone speaking in an unknown language, they will think you are crazy. But if all of you are prophesying and unbelievers or people who don't understand these things come into your meeting, they will be convicted of sin and judged by what you say. As they listen, their secret thoughts will be exposed, and they will fall to their knees and worship God, declaring, God is truly here among you. Well, my brothers and sisters, let's summarize. When you meet together, one will sing, another will teach, another will tell some special revelation God has given. One will speak in tongues, and another will interpret what is said. But everything that is done must strengthen all of you. No more than 2 or 3 should speak in tongues. They must speak one at a time, and someone must interpret what they say. But if no one is present who can interpret, they must be silent in your church meeting and speak in tongues to God privately. Let 2 or 3 people prophesy, and let the others evaluate what is said. But if someone is prophesying and another person receives a revelation from the Lord, the one who is speaking must stop. In this way, all who prophesy will have a turn to speak, one after the other, so that everyone will learn and be encouraged. Remember that people who prophesy are in control of their spirit and can take turns. For God is a God, is not, rather, read this right. For God is not a God of disorder, but of peace. God is a God of peace and order. We know who the agent of disorder is, as in all meetings of God's holy people. Women should be silent during the church meetings. It is not proper for them to speak. They should be submissive, just as the law says. If they have any questions, they should ask their husbands at home, for it is improper for women to speak in church meetings. There could be a lot of thoughts about that last paragraph. Or do you think God's word originated with you, Corinthians? Are you the only ones to whom it was given? If you claim to be a prophet or think you are spiritual, you should recognize that what I am saying is a command from the Lord Himself. But if you do not recognize this, you yourself will not be recognized. So, my dear brothers and sisters, be eager to prophesy and don't forbid speaking in tongues. But be sure that everything is done properly and in order. Psalm 37, verse 30. The godly offer good counsel. They teach right from wrong. They have made God's law their own so that they will never slip from His path. The wicked wait in ambush for the godly, looking for an excuse to kill them. But the Lord will not let the wicked succeed, or let the godly be condemned when they are put on trial. Put your hope in the Lord. Travel steadily along His path. He will honor you by giving you the land. You will see the wicked destroyed. I have seen wicked and ruthless people flourishing like a tree in its native soil. But when I looked again, they were gone. Though I searched for them, I could not find them. Look at those who are honest and good. The future awaits those who love peace. But the destroyed, they have no future. The Lord rescues the godly. He is their fortress in times of trouble. The Lord helps them, rescuing them from the wicked. He saves them, and they find shelter in Him. Proverbs 21, verse 27. The sacrifice of an evil person is detestable, especially when it's offered with wrong motives. And that brings us to the end of today's reading. And let's go back to the prayer. Don't have much time. Actually, time is up because Kelly's already said it's after 8. We're going to get the prayer in and wrap up for today. I'll be back with you tomorrow. Here's your prayer for today, August 22nd, Tuesday, 2023. Just as the psalmist promises, our persecuted Christian family finds shelter in the Lord. Sometimes that shelter comes in a form that allows them to continue their ministry despite the persecution they endure. Other times, having paid the ultimate sacrifice for their bold and faithful witness, that shelter comes as they enter their eternal home. Lord, I can picture my martyred Christian brothers and sisters when they first see you in heaven. Thank you for their endurance to the end and for the refuge and eternal hope these faithful witnesses have in you. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. There you go. We're back on the saddle again, and so much to think about. One, think about when you're going through a trial and tribulation, um, you sometimes go through things by the hand of others. Sometimes, like I said before, we come to a trial and tribulation because of something we've done. In any case, we can turn to God the Father. If we feel as though we've erred, cry out to Him and repent. If it's by the hand of another, we can realize too that God will be there to comfort us. God, please comfort me through this trial and tribulation. Help me to see what I must learn, what I am to take away from this, so that when someone else is going through this, because I know that when you send me through trial and tribulation, it's only going to be a matter of time before someone's going to come into my life in which I will be able to understand because of what I've gone through previously. And that we can be that encouraging hand, that encouraging shoulder to cry on, because we can understand. In any case, God is with us. Call on Him, cry out to Him, and recognize that there are some, like we read about Walt Disney today, Walt Disney, who is revered to this day by some in the world, while others know there is a dark side to every man and woman. And where he is, we will not know. Now in these days anyway. But one day we will know, just as we enter eternity one day. The world will look upon him the way it wants to look upon him, and God knows the truth. And God has judged fairly, and that's all we can trust, is that God will judge everyone fairly. We don't know. We're not the judge, but we trust that God will judge each and every one fairly. And all we need to do is focus on our relationship with God, continue to grow in our trust and faith in Him, and encourage others to go down that same path. Take care. God bless. Have a wonderful day. And God willing, we'll be back with you again come tomorrow morning. Until then.